Alright, what's up? It's your boy Alien Ness. Big shout out to my brother JustRoc, MZK, Floor Gangs. He sent me some questions. Well, rather you sent me some questions, because you're probably the only one that's ever going to see this. Unless I die, then you have to put out all my footage, alright? Everybody needs to know who the real is. However, I'm going to go into these questions. I have not looked at them once, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like I ignored them. You know, I've already told you I was dealing with some things, legalities. But I like to answer questions on the fly. You understand what I'm saying? There's never, I keep the ghetto. I don't try to look perfect or sound perfect. You know what I'm saying? I like to answer everything on the fly. You will never get anything rehearsed from Alien Ness. So, it's 10 questions gathered from the worldwide audience to ask you. Why you called Alien Ness? I wish I had $1 for every time I've been asked that. Basically, the short version. Mr. Ness of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, he jokingly around nicknamed me Kid Ness one day. And, you know, it's a big deal in the Bronx in my generation when somebody kind of like, you know, gives you a name. You know, it's like nowadays when you say you son somebody, it's insulting. Back in my days, that was like honorable for somebody like take you under their wing or give you their name or things of that nature. So when he said Kid Ness, you know, I kept it. I ran with it. I went home that day, looked in the dictionary for the word Ness because I needed to know the definition. I believe people's name should match their demeanor. You know, whether you're an MC, a DJ, a rapper, a B-Boy, whatever. If you're going to take a nickname, it has to fit you. And in my days, nobody really gave themselves names. And the motherfuckers that gave themselves names, trust me, they never made it anywhere. And it's not because they gave themselves a name. It's because they weren't really in the scene like that. You know, if you was in the scene, somebody gave you a name. You know, somebody sung you, gave you a name. You know, even moves back then. When you created something, you would show it to your boys and be like, what does it look like? 9 times out of 10, your boys came up with names for moves, not you. You know, and the same thing was with your own name. So, because the name had to describe visually what you was doing or fully manifest who you are as a person. So I went home and I looked at the word Ness in the dictionary, N-E-S-S, and it was an adjective meaning more of or a certain quality. And I said to myself, whether or not that describes me, I'm going to keep this name and I'm going to live up to this name, you know. And I've always tried to be more of, you know what I'm saying, than the average B-boy, or display a certain quality that I'm going to have that nobody else has. You understand? And that you can't find nowhere. After that, TC Islam, years after that, TC Islam, may he rest in peace, he started a Zulu Nation chapter called Alien Nation. And I was kind of like TC's son, you know what I'm saying? And he made me the press of that. And then from there, he developed a group, you know, called Alien Nation. And it was TC Islam, the DJ Funky Alien, MC Supernatural, the lyrical aliens. Now y'all know where Supernatural got that name from. And Ness, the B-Boy Alien. So I was Ness, the B-Boy Alien. It was all descriptive to Alien Nation. It wasn't that I was that. And jokingly around, Bambaataa used to see me, and when I would do like my power footwork, you know, where I'm kind of like floating and gliding, Bambaataa said that I looked intergalactic. One time he actually said if aliens came down to Earth and started breaking, they would look like Ness when he breaks. So the funny part is that one time Bam was trying to catch my attention in a room full of mad people, and I was in a group over here in conversation. He was in a group over there in conversation. He kept calling me. He kept saying, Ness, Ness, Ness. And then at one point, I hear somebody go, hey, alien. And I looked over and everybody started laughing, you know, because I responded to alien and not my name. So it was a joke. And then there was this kid called Jason Sanchez. And one time, just as a freestyle, he said, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to the fact that on the dance floor I was untouchable. I was so untouchable, but don't call him Elliot Ness. He's more like Alien Ness. And I was like, whoa, that flow's dope. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, you know, it was a crazy time in my life. You know, so I looked up the dictionary of Alien Ness, you know, as one word. You know, and it kind of matched the state of mind I was in at that time. So I kept that. So I've been Alien Ness since then, and man, after a while, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I wish I was an alien. You know, like you outgrow certain things. You know what I'm saying? So I started outgrowing the alien name when I started taking on all these aliases. You know what I mean? And everybody jokes around and says I have so many aliases and AKAs and stuff like that. Like I never knew B-boys who had like aliases or AKAs, like consistent ones. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, it was because I would sign up in battles, and when we were signing up in battles, the first time we used an alias, I used it with Fever One and stuff like that. I used Rusty Shank, he used Guns Blazing. We did so because we didn't want nobody to know we was battling. We didn't want Alien Ness and Fever on that paper. You know, so we already had the grand scheme of coming in there as Rusty Shank and Guns Blazing. We had, you know, shirts with our names on it, but we kept our jackets on the whole time at the jam until they called our name. You know what I'm saying? But that's where Alien Ness comes from. And like I was saying, I started outgrowing Alien Ness. Like sometimes I wish I was an Alien Ness. I wish I was just plain Ness or Ness 4. You know what I'm saying? But Alien Ness is the person that's known internationally, and I appreciate all that. And you know, I will always keep that name. You know, even if I've outgrown it, I will always keep that name because I don't know. I use the alien name so much, people forget I'm human sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I go through human emotions and human problems and all type of things. You know, so that's that. Now I'm going scrolling down. Second question from my brother JustRoc. It says here, I know one of the first crews you were down with was called Hot Feet Rockers. What were the other crews you were down with in the beginning, and can you share more about them and how you got down with them? Woo, dope question. For starters, my first crew ever, right? I once started a crew, and it was basically the kids who lived in that neighborhood. I had found us a practice spot. That's how it started. I had got a practice spot. One time I was outside a club called PC's in the Bronx. It's across the street from Riddler's. Bronx heads could tell you about Riddler's and PC's. You know, the old school Bronx heads that used to go clubbing. I was outside of PC's practicing on the concrete, and the owner of PC's was a young dude called Frank Testatori, who was the son of Joe Testatori, who wrote the book that they made the movie about, Fort Apache, the Bronx. That's a whole nother story. You know what I'm saying? However, he's seen us on the concrete, you know, breaking, and he would always come early. Like, he was a hands-on boss, so he would come early. You would see him outside, you know what I'm saying, sweeping the sidewalk, you know, in the early evenings before the club opened, because that's where the people lined up and things of that nature. And there was always like broken glass and stuff, so he would come out himself personally to clean the floors. You know, he was a hands-on boss, and he seen us, and he stopped, and he was watching us, and he thought it was great, and he was like, why don't you guys come inside and practice? He's like, we open our doors at X amount of time. You have from now until then. I can practice all you want, and I can sweep the floors out here. We were like, me and my boy was like, yo, that's great. We went inside. We had a ball. It was just two of us, a kid named Chino and myself. And when it came time for us to have to leave, he came, stepped to me. He's like, check this out. Every Friday and Saturday, we open the club at this time, but I get here by 6 o'clock. He's like, if you guys want a place to practice, I can come here all the time and practice before we open up the club. You know what I mean? And he's like, and you could bring your own tapes and records or whatever. He's like, we got a sound system. If any of you guys know how to work the sound system, you know, we'll let you use that too. So it was crazy to us at that time to have like the club as a practice spot. And basically we was just kids who practiced together. We still wasn't really formed as a crew, you know what I'm saying? But then one time the dude gave us the opportunity to perform at a talent show. So it was a talent show, a talent contest, but we weren't competing. We were actually like performing. They put us on the flyer, special guest performance by, and we didn't have a name back then. So when he's like, how do I, you know, how are they going to introduce you? What name should I give them of the group? I immediately named us after the club. So we were first PCC, Preferred Clientele Crew. You know what I'm saying? And we ended up performing at the club one time. We ended up performing at that. When I send you this footage, I'll probably send you flyers and pictures of those days, you know, to corroborate with that too. You know what I'm saying? And it was myself, a brother named Nano. Nano invented the hopping hang glide. I hate to use the word invented. Nano was the first to do the hopping hang glide, what people call crickets, you know, nowadays. I ain't never seen a cricket go around in circles. You know what I'm saying? Actually, crickets are very unpredictable. If you're going to name a move, call it by what it is. You know, it's not a jackhammer. I have never seen, you know, a city construction worker working a jackhammer and going around in circles. You know, it's anything a hand hop looks more like a sledgehammer. Because, you know, it's vertical, it's going up and down. Like, use your head, people, when y'all name y'all moves. You know what I'm saying? It was called a hopping hang glide because it was a hang glide, but you was hopping instead of gliding. So, common sense. You know, y'all gotta remember, in the ghetto, a lot of us didn't have that education that people have nowadays. So, when you think about ghetto use and terms and stuff that they used, when I say they, I mean the people before me and then my generation and so forth, y'all gotta think like limited education. Like, no kid in the ghetto in the 70s knew what a coffee grinder was. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't call their move a coffee grinder. However, they seen a million kung fu movies, you know, and was into martial arts and knew that that was a sweep. So it's a sweep. It's not a coffee grinder. You know what I'm saying? So just a little example. I know I'm getting off track. But Nano was in that group. My brother Chino D, who is still MZK to this day. He's an MC now. He don't dance, but he's been with me since, you know, 82, 83, you know, since as long as I've been breaking. He was a dope B-boy, and we invited him in because he was already connected to me through Zulu. You know, he used to hang out with GLOBE of the Soul Sonic Force, you know, and that's like my uncle basically. So when I found out they used to vibe together, you know, I was like, that's dope. You know, yeah, you down. You know, and he's been with me ever since then. We had our DJ. I don't remember the name, but I think in one of the pictures, you know, at the moment it slipped my mind, but I think one of the pictures has his name on it. You know, I'll try to send you that. You know, of course, my partner Chino, who was my partner, and then I brought in Mr. Wave, a boogie boy, who I've known since before I started breaking. Me and Mr. Joints, we met in '79. You know, so it was a sparring match, a martial arts sparring match that my cousin and some kids from their neighborhood set up because they used to call him, you know, Karate Mike. And then my cousins moved into that neighborhood and they was like, yo, I got a cousin into martial arts. And I was like, yeah, they can't mess with Mike. And to make a long story short, you know what I'm saying, they hooked up a sparring session that we both had to show up at Bronx Community College on the track, on the turf, and have it out. And we had a really dope fight and shit. To my recollection, it was a dope fight for a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And from that day on, we became friends. And then when the hip-hop came along, I found out he was boogieing and I was breaking. It was still a connection. I brought him in. Eventually, from the PCC crew, the brothers who ended up staying there, because a lot of people went their way. Like I said, we wasn't really a crew. We was just the kids that practiced together at the same spot. You know, cool kids that I was like, yo, we got a spot, we got a spot, we got a spot. We a few of us stayed together, like crew-wise, like crew. We was always together. That included Mr. Joints, Chino D, who at that time didn't have a breaking name, my boy Chino D. I actually battled somebody for the name, because this dude showed up somewhere, his shirt said, Sir Swift. And as soon as I seen that, I'd be like, yo, that's a dope name for you, because I thought my boy was Swift, but I didn't think this cat was all that, you know what I'm saying? So I just walked up to the dude like, yo, dude, I'm battling for your name. You know what I mean? Whoever loses got to change their name. And the dude was bugging because I wasn't even named Sir Swift. It was just Kid Ness wanting Sir Swift's name, but I had given that to my brother. And there was never another Sir Swift after that, believe that. But we ended up changing and forming Electric Avenue Rockers, you know? And that came off of a Eddie Grant song called Electric Avenue. We gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. Y'all know the song. Well, basically, I really liked the way that flowed. Electric Avenue. You understand what I mean? I thought it was street. We were mostly B-boys with one electric boogie boy, you know. However, I thought it was really dope, you know, like current of electricity, avenue to represent the streets. And of course, as a B-boy crew, we put rockers, because in those days, we was rocking, basically. You know, you was rocking the floor. That's another whole story on how a lot of people got the terminology fucked up, you know. So maybe you could do another interview one day. That was Electric Avenue Rockers. When I moved from that neighborhood and Mr. Joint went to another crew. He disappeared for a while, which I'll mention. Cheap Rockers. You know, that's that crew you see us battling in that 84 footage in the basement. The most classical online battle you could find online, period, because nobody has battle footage from that time, authentic battle footage. But everything went in separate ways. I ended up joining a performance crew. It was a performance crew called Dance System 10. And what I mean by a performance crew is that Dance System 10, you only seen them on stage. You wouldn't see Dance System 10 at jams or, you know, making a buzz in the streets or, you know, battling it. They ain't never had nobody battle with their colors on until me and little Chino got down with them. You know, we would do a performance, get our money, and go straight to the skate key after that with our little satin members only jackets that said Dance System 10 and try to battle everybody in the club. But that was just a performance crew. However, I was a part of that, so I mentioned them. And then I met this guy called Loc 4, you know, and originally I met a guy called Fantasy Fast. First time I met him, he gave me pointers, invited me to the neighborhood, found out he was a member, the vice president of the legendary, I think he could have been the vice president, of the legendary Ready to Rock crew, the original Ready to Rock crew from the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? No offense to my MZK brothers, but Ready to Rock was an 80s crew, you know, which I eventually ended up connecting them together, so now they all share one hit name. As well as they share a name, they share history. You know, the new Ready to Rock, they see themselves as the next generation of the original Ready to Rock now. You know, I helped squash that beat. But as soon as I got down with Ready to Rock, that did not last long. You know, Loc, Fast, that was dope, bro. At that time, there was a little bit way too gutter street for me, you know what I'm saying? I want to practice. Them niggas want to play the corner, make money, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. However, that only lasted for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, because there was a problem with me and a brother named Buck 4, may he rest in peace, and his brother Flex from Hockey Rockers. There was a beef, and through another brother named Don Tony, they found out where I lived, and they came to my house. You know, they came to my house to beef, you know, and kick my ass. That's the way Bronx niggas do. We don't talk shit, we don't gossip. You know, we hear you got something to say, we show up at your doorstep. You know, and to make a long story short, I spoke with Flex and Buck for a long time, and that was the end of that. You know, all the beef was squashed. They was like, we don't want to hear, you know, you say anything again. It turned out there was another dude who was angry, and you know, it's irrelevant, but He was only angry because I told him he couldn't call himself Swift Rock because my partner was Sir Swift.